What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Football Chat Box. My name is Ryan, and welcome to a Game Week 5 wildcard. Now, what you see on screen is my current squad. We're going to clear that up, and we're going to build a Game Week 5 wildcard squad. If you are new, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. And for those of you who are a regular on this channel, make sure to stick till the end because I'm going to explain how the content is going to be running for the next 3 weeks at least while I'm traveling. So make sure to stick till the end and I'll explain it at the end. Now, let's get started straight into the video. All right, now let's clear this squad. Now, in terms of clearing the squad, we're going to remove players. Now, obviously, there are players in here that will still keep in a wildcard, but also the value that I have here might not really apply to y'all as well. It might be slightly different, so we need to kind of keep that in mind as well. Now, based off my squad, if I was to wildcard, I'll remove Onana. I would remove Jackson. I would remove Joao Pedro, Saliba. I would potentially remove also Kabore, maybe. Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll probably put in a different Luton defender. And also, I would probably remove... It'll probably be Rashford and Foden. And I'll get to the reasons why. But just ignoring those two, if you have to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, about 3, 4, yeah, 5, 6 players, right, that you would regularly play, that's okay. Then that kind of makes sense for a wildcard. If you want to remove at least about 6 to 7 players from your main squad, then yeah, okay, it makes sense for a wildcard. If not, if you just need to like change 3 or 4 players, I don't think it's worth a wildcard. So that's the main reason. If it's like what is a good wildcard and what is not a good wildcard. So I'd probably go like this. Maybe we can change the keeper as well, the second keeper, and we'll get to that. But for now, I'll keep Turner. But I think if you were to wildcard, Turner is a bit of a problem going forward. But for now, I'll keep Turner and I'll explain why I'm putting Turner there. All right, so for me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 main positions. Kabore we'll get to with regards to the, now that we know the double game week for Luton and Burnley. That could go to a different 4 million. So let's get that done straight away. Now, if you wildcard now, you need to last at least until game week 19, right? So you need to, your fixtures have to last until then. So you need to try and find fixtures that will be good for a longer term until the end of December, basically. So let's sort out the Luton team because obviously people want the double game week. Let's go for Luton. I'm going to go for Morris, who will potentially be on Pence as well, if I'm not mistaken. So he takes Joao Pedro's spot. And then Kabore, instead of Kabore, we're going to go for, I think it's Anderson, who's got more points. So we're going to go for Anderson here. Now, obviously, if you have Kabore, and if you're not on a wildcard, you can just keep him. He's still going to get you minutes. So I think I'll go for these two for now. Burnley, I'm not really interested because if you look in Burnley's fixtures, they have Newcastle and Luton. Newcastle, the fixture isn't as easy, whereas Luton, on the other hand, Everton and Burnley. Now, one thing I will add. Poor team, even though they have a double game week, is still a bad option to like double or triple up. So don't go full on Burnley and Luton. They're both promoted sides. You do not want to wildcard into 6 or 5 of these players. Just don't. It's not worth it. Bad players, no, but like players from bad teams are still bad choices. Okay, I'm just telling you right now. All right, so we got those two in. Now, the second striker spot, we're going to be most likely playing still a 3-5-2. Estupinan will come onto the bench for now because of his mixed tough fixtures, so you kind of need to rotate with him. So let's start with the goalkeeper. Now, goalkeeper, obviously, there aren't that many options, unfortunately. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and pick, I think you got a couple options. For me, Vicario is a decent option, but if you have Udogi, I don't think you need to double up. And for me, there are other 2 options. Now, if you go back to the fixtures, this is Aston Villa. They have a really nice run if you were to look like, apart from game week 6 and 7, which is slightly tough. until game week 12, they have a decent run. Game week 13, you got Spurs. Game week 14, you have Bournemouth. So Aston Villa have a nice run of fixtures. So I do like Martinez as an option, I should add. Very good run of fixtures. I do like it quite a lot. The other option I do like is Flecken. Now, they have a mixed bag of fixtures. Probably not as great as maybe Martinez. Now, the one thing is you need to keep in mind with Flecken is obviously the blank in game week 18. Martinez, on the other hand, should be fine going forward. So let's put Martinez for now because I think he's a really good option. And then you don't need to get the Matty Cash because Matty Cash, even while he's still a good option, could also be slightly rotation issues. We don't know yet. When Moreno is back, then the system might change again in terms of the fullback. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. We had to wait and see on that. But we'll put Martinez. We might go to Flecken as well if maybe, let's say, for some reason, money is an issue. Now, if I go Martinez, I don't really need Turner. Then I can go for Areola instead as the next playing goalkeeper that I know. I can do that because whenever I need to, let's say, if I need to start Areola against Sheffield United, I can do it when Martinez is playing Brighton, right? I can bench Martinez, start him over there. Now, that's the two goalkeepers. In defense, I still think if you have Chilwell, keep him. Still good until game week 8. Udogie, good fixtures, can rotate with Estupinan. So that's your rotation pair there. And that's good till game week 18. Kabore. Now, Kabore spot, which we got Anderson instead. So your third defensive option here, I think you got to go for a Newcastle defender. They've got good numbers in terms of defense. Obviously, they haven't kept a clean sheet per se, but they still have good defensive numbers. So you kind of want to punt on it because the run that they get in is going to be good. Obviously, Brentford in game week 5, but after that, Sheffield, Burnley, West Ham, Crystal Palace, Wolves, Arsenal slightly tough, but then they got Bournemouth, and then they got 2 tough fixtures, and then Everton, another tough one. So they have 4 tough fixtures in the span of until game week 19. You have to give it a go. I know, obviously, they have a tough European campaign. So we need to pick a player from Newcastle who would ideally play more minutes. Now, unfortunately, Botman's injured, and it's between Trippier and Shah. I still don't think Trippier is worth 6.5 million. So, and I'll show you why, because I think budget might be an issue. People say money is not a problem, but I think in this case it might be. And I'll show you why. So we'll go for Shah. And that's basically my defense. Estupinan, Anderson, Dogi, Shah, and Chilwell, along with Martinez. Now, this might be cutting it very close, but we'll see. Now, in my midfield, if you're wildcarding in game week 5, you kind of want to go for Son. Now, the one thing with Heung-min Son, we don't know if it's a guarantee he's playing striker spot, but the Sheffield United game is so good that you can't, if you're wildcarding in game week 5, you probably might want to do it. The only problem that I'm not sure is once Brennan Johnson comes into the team, now that they've signed him, where is he going to play? Is he going to play share minutes alongside Kulusevski? Is that the plan? Or is he going to play the striker spot? And then is Richarlison completely gone away from the striker spot? That's another question. So it's a few things we had to kind of wait and see, but I think that Sheffield United fixture is so good that you probably want to try and give it a go. So I guess I would probably play Son in that specific situation. So Son's in, Maddison's in, Mbeumo, Saka, and your fifth midfield can be a mixture of, depends on where you want to go. Liverpool, I still think Luis Diaz is worth it. It's worth a go. If you wanted a United player, at this point, for budget reasons, it'll have to be Bruno Fernandes, and I'll show you why. Maybe I'll put Bruno because he's 8.4. And we'll kind of talk about that fifth midfield spot. But we'll keep it. We'll come back to it because there are a few options that you can go, and I'll tell you why later. Second striker spot. Now, because I removed Foden, I still think, given that Alvarez is now playing quite a lot of minutes, it's worth a go to double up on the City attack with Alvarez and Haaland. Now, the one thing is Alvarez could maybe become a rotation issue once Europe kicks in. That is a risk that you might have to decide whether you're willing to take or not. But for the moment, he looks a pretty good option in terms of minutes. You don't want to go for him. Forest, what's Forest's fixtures like? Maybe not. I was going to suggest Taiwo, but maybe that's a bit too good. to be true, to be honest. Maybe not. Okay, never mind. He is on form, but probably a bit too good to be true. We'll put Alvarez in there. I think he is probably the option you might want to go for. He's starting now, playing minutes. Until it becomes a rotation issue, then you can switch to different strikers, and different strikers will pop up. And I'll show you when I like swift through the weeks. Now, got 9 million, right? 9 million in the bank. This is why I was thinking whether I have to, I might have 9 million. You guys might have more. You guys might have less. So I can't really go for 9 million. So Marcus Rashford is a spot that we unfortunately can't go if you want to have Heung-min Son as well. It's cutting it too close in terms of price bracket. For me, it's 8.9. I can get it, but it might be cutting it too close for some of you guys. So in that specific case, I would probably go for Bruno Fernandes, right? He's one option. I think the fixtures are pretty good in terms of United's fixtures. It's worth a punt. The other player who I think is worth a punt but could probably wait would be either Luis Diaz, right? Or Szoboszlai, who we think compared to Luis Diaz will be more minutes guaranteed, maybe not as much attacking returns. Or from Aston Villa, I don't think you need to go for Diaby just yet. You can go for Diaby in game week 8, and that would be moving out probably a Mbeumo, or when we get to game week 8, maybe a Saka even. We'll talk about it. So I think you just go with probably Bruno Fernandes because 6 and 7 fixtures are good. You still want a United attacker. They're creating chances, and he's the guy who's going to mainly be the one creating it, right? So this is the team that I would probably go with. I have 0.6 in the bank. This is why I said Trippier isn't as doable. Even if I was to downgrade Martinez to a Flecken, still trying to get Trippier would not be easy for me. And that's because when you walk out in Game Week 5, you kind of had to make a few sacrifices somewhere, and that's why I'm like, Trippier is not going to be easy for budget reasons. Even if you were to downgrade Bruno Fernandes to another 7.5 midfielder, it kind of prevents you from trying to go up if you ever needed to. So that's why I think Shah is kind of a decent middle ground. Gets a decent amount of like attacking bonus points, stuff like that. So this is probably the team that I would rock with. The fifth midfielder, like I said, could switch about. But if you were to go into Game Week 6, right? This is the team. Game Week 6, we keep it as it is. Maddison, you can bench him if you wanted to. If you think that Morris might get a chance against Wolves, I don't mind actually starting Maddison as well. I'll probably bench. Obviously, this is where I said the Udogie Estupinan rotation comes in. You start Estupinan instead of Udogie. Now, I should mention in Game Week 5, if you were to go instead of Martinez and you went Flecken, I would still try thinking about bringing in a Villa defender, although you probably don't need to bring in a Villa defender just yet. It could be for once Chilwell after game week 8, you could probably move like that. So if you go Flecken, it's fine. That's completely fine with me. It depends on how your budget goes. But I do like Martinez as well as an option. It's also a surefire route into that Villa defense compared to Matty Cash, who we don't know if he's still fully certain in terms of minutes once Moreno is also back and how that system works. Okay, now Game Week 6, you roll the transfer. Estupinan will play instead of Udogie. The team looks the same. Go to Game Week 7, and then you go, okay, what happens here? Morris comes in because obviously they have the double game week. You probably go Maddison out, maybe, if you wanted to. It could also be Alvarez if you think he's not going to get your minutes. Anderson will come in this specific case for Estupinan. Probably want to make a transfer here if you wanted to. And it could be for Alvarez in this specific situation. You think Alvarez is like, he's maybe lost his spot, or you want to move to someone else. Maybe you want to move to a Darwin Núñez, right? You think Darwin Núñez has cemented a slot. You think Darwin Núñez has cemented a slot, and you kind of want to move Darwin Núñez. Alvarez out to Darwin, right? Where is Darwin? I probably need to go to Liverpool. Oh, I'm looking at forward, sorry. Here we go. Now, they do have Spurs. This is in Game Week 7. Yeah, they have Spurs. So, maybe you don't move. And I'm also 0.1 short, so I can't really do it. So, Darwin's kind of out for me. So who do you go for in that specific situation? 7.4. I don't have anyone for 7.4. Okay, here's one thing you could do. Let's say you didn't go for Bruno Fernandes, right? And you went for a Diaz or Szoboszlai, someone like that, let's say. You could, this is something you could do. I'm not sure whether it'll work or not. Let me return this. Let's say you went in, instead of Bruno, you went for, let's go Diaz, right? Because I think Diaz is still decent number for Liverpool minutes. Right? You went something like this. Game week 6, game week 7 we come. You think Alvarez is not working. I do like the shout of Højlund. I think I like the Højlund shout. I think he could come good. I'm not really sure yet, but it could work out. And then you probably bring, instead of Alvarez, you bring in Højlund. I think that might work out, to be honest. Because City are about to hit a slight tough run of fixtures as well. In terms of game week 8, they have Arsenal, then they got Brighton, then they got United. Maybe United is not a tough one, you never know. Then they got 12, they got Chelsea, 13, they got Liverpool, so Spurs in 14, 15. So you maybe want to remove Alvarez at this point, right? Obviously, you're missing out the Wolves fixture. But that's something you kind of have to play and see by minutes. We never know. Things can change. The landscape of FPL can change like in 2 weeks as well. So let's just say you just make one transfer. I would recommend probably rolling the second. Okay, you don't need to go and get another third Luton player or a second or a first Burnley player. I don't think it's worth it. So you maybe make that one transfer for the striker. Go into game week 8. And this is where I mentioned about Saka. This is where it kind of gets interesting. Now, obviously, we start Madison for Morris. Udogi comes in for Anderson. Now, this is where it gets interesting. You have one transfer to spend. Now, you don't have to spend the transfer. You can obviously burn it if you wanted to. But I think you probably want to spend it somewhere. And this is where I raise the question of, is Saka worth it now? We're in game week 8, right? And this is the 1 week before the international break where managers will start to wildcard ahead of game week 9, right? This is what's their fixtures. So they got City, Chelsea, obviously the Sheffield United fixture, pretty easy. But then they got Newcastle after that. So in the span of 4 game weeks, they got 3 tough fixtures and 1 easy one. So now you kind of have to decide, do you really want to keep Saka for that? If Arsenal are still like may not performing as great, maybe you can move Saka out. Maybe you go, okay, maybe Diaz wasn't the player you wanted Jota or something, you can probably move that. Maybe Heung-min Son is not playing in the striker spot anymore, but the fixtures are so good that you probably want to keep him. But if he's lost the striker spot, he's not as great. He's not a good option if he's lost the striker spot. Maybe you want to move Mbeumo out. That's a possibility, and I'm not against it. Because you got, in game week 8, you got United. Then you got Chelsea in 10. In 12, you got Liverpool. 13, you got Arsenal. You have only 2 good fixtures. Maybe you want to move Mbeumo out. So let's say you want to move Mbeumo out. I would go for a Villa player in DRB. Because Aston Villa hit a good run of fixtures from game week 8 onwards, as you can see, until 14. Good run of fixtures. This is where Aston Villa player comes in DRB. The second transfer, honestly, I would hold it and I'll use it over the international break. You ideally would, if possible, carry 2 free transfers over the international break. Game week 9 is the international break. Game week 8 international break, game week 9. This is where, in this period, is where a lot of managers are going to play their free hit. Not free, they're going to play their wild card. And then you go, okay, I have 2 free transfers to kind of react and see what the template becomes like at that point. Right? You can then react to the template. You can maybe move Morris if you wanted to, upgrade him to a 6.6 if anyone pops up. Or you can go straight to a 4.5 if you wanted to free up some funds to an Archer and use that money elsewhere to upgrade another spot. Maybe you wanted Trippier at this point. Silva to Trippier now becomes a possibility because you've just downgraded that 3rd striker spot. Okay, so that's a few things that you can play with. Maybe let's say you go into game week 9, you've done Archer down and you got Trippier as well, 6.5. And then you go into game week 10 and you're like, ooh, you still kept Saka, by the way. Through all of this, you go into game week 10, you're like, okay, looks good, but I would like to make a move somewhere else. Where actually will I make? This is where it gets a bit more hard because all the fixtures look pretty good. This is all like hypothetical because at this point, I think the landscape would have changed so much that I can't tell you where to go at this point. Depends on who's good and maybe double Newcastle defense is not worth it after this, and then you switch to someone else. To who? At this point, I can't really tell you because we don't know what the landscape of FPL will be come game week 10. But this is just a rough idea of how you can like traverse your squad throughout the game weeks. So let me know what you think about this wildcard squad. Obviously, I've given you a few different options as well in terms of that fifth midfielder. But I would probably still go Fernandes over Diaz at this moment. Think. Would I? Maybe not. Maybe Diaz has better fixtures for the next two. That's something for you guys to consider, obviously. You don't have to go exactly with this. And I don't think you should. But few options given. Let me know what you think about it. But yeah, if you reach up to this video, thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. And for the regulars and also new people who are watching and you want to know what my content is for the next 3 weeks. Now, I will be traveling, which means deadline streams won't be exactly on the deadline day. They will probably be maybe a day ahead, right? They could be a day ahead of the deadline, or depending on whenever I can find free time during the week when I'm traveling, right? So for those who watched me last season, you knew when I was traveling, streams were slightly a day ahead of the deadline, stuff like that. So I'll try and bring content to you guys throughout the remaining 3 weeks, but it'll be a mixed bag. So make sure, because of that, to set your notifications so you know when I go live. Hit the bell icon so you know when I go live, and I'll post on the YouTube community tab as well. I'll keep you guys updated in terms of whenever streams are going to come for deadline streams. I've got thumbnails ready with player images on them. I have guessed and hope that these guys will be the talking points of those times. Again, that's an assumption, so we'll see whether that's right or not. But I've got thumbnails for 5 things we learned, team selection, and deadline stream as well. For game week 5, 6, and 7. I will be back for the original deadline stream for game week 8, so I'll be back by then. But for the next 3 weeks, next 3 game weeks, we're gonna have to play it by ear, right? So make sure to hit the bell button for those of you who are regulars as well, and also for those of you who are new, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and yeah, let me know what you thought about this wildcard squad. And thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all later.